away from that noise ordinance. So they understand that there's public concern about, these loud cars at midnight.
That building could very easily have sat empty for 10 years.
You hear the local people that make the news every day, 7 days a week on the big 1520 AM, 92.3 FM, and 106.5 FM WHOW, and on your easy choice for soft hits, 95.9 FM WEZC.
Find out how you and your family can save up to 40% on the meat, produce, and grocery items you use every day by clicking the Clinton Save-A-Lot icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Peterson Insurance Services in Clinton is a 2014 Pekin Insurance Illinois Agency of the Year. Jay Peterson here from Peterson Insurance. Find out about Pekin's auto, home, or life insurance by clicking on our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
News time is 8 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 7 o'clock newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and we stream to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. It comes around every few years for DeWitt County, the DeWitt County Board, and it's on its radar, and it is on its radar again, early retirement incentives for eligible employees. Board Chair Joe Whitty indicates this is something the County Board's Finance Committee is taking up and explains it as an offer for the county and an employee or employees to buy out so many years of retirement.
Yeah, I think the big item from their agenda, I think it comes up periodically, is with the IMRF, looking at, does it make sense to do some type of offer where, we could do an early retirement package. This was, I'm not sure the last time this was looked at, but I don't think it's been actually run in DeWitt County anywhere we've actually done it. I think the rules there are basically that, you offer an early retirement where both the employee and the county would essentially buy out so many years of retirement. If they're close enough, if they're in that age range where they could get to retirement, where they could, buy out 2, 3, I think it's up to 5 years.
According to Whitty, this is a practice done in the private sector, and it is ultimately a cost savings for the county. He indicates there are around 10 current employees that would qualify for this offer.
It's not new, right? Other businesses have done this type of thing, and the reason that you would do some of that is to maybe look at some cost savings. So, it's something that the county can look at. We've got, at this point, 9 or 10, depending on what we look at from a cutoff range, 9 or 10 employees that would potentially be eligible for an early retirement. The thing is there cost savings in doing that? If you're going to have to fill a spot that becomes vacant with somebody at the exact same salary, there may not really be any cost savings to the county. But there may be opportunities where, you can get by with fewer positions. So, it's not something that you can make a decision in a month. I think this was brought before them as an opportunity, and they looked at some preliminary numbers, but it's going to take some time to go back and say, okay, who's on that list, and what would we do with those positions if we did offer that early retirement and that employee decided to exercise that option.
Whitty emphasizes this is not something the county can force on an employee, and they would also have to consider making sure not all 10 employees would be interested in taking the county up on this offer, leaving them with a large employment deficit.
You can't force anybody. The employee can make that decision, and they'd have a year to decide. But that does introduce some challenges, right? You don't know who's going to take an option like that, how easy it is to fill some of those spots. We're working through filling vacancies right now, and it takes a little bit of time. So not something that we'll rush through, but we certainly need to take a look at. What they decide is let's pause it, let's rerun a report later I think probably in the summer. I think maybe the July timeframe, but in the meantime, we need to kind of take a look at who's on that list and what would we do if those positions did open up. Would we combine positions? Would you hire in somebody at a lesser salary or lesser pay rate? there's a lot that can go into determining if it even makes sense financially. Not to mention that, if everybody decided to take that, we've got a lot of vacancies to the market. So there's a lot to consider there. And maybe that's why we haven't done anything in the past, but that's one of the items that they're going to be looking at.
While county board meetings have been a bit slower lately, Whitty anticipates those meetings picking up as some of the county's committees conclude issues they're focused in on. It has been a pleasantly mild week in central Illinois, and nice weather should stick around until Friday. On the WHOW Morning Show Wednesday, Ed Shimon at the National Weather Service in Lincoln told Regional Radio a shift in the polar jet stream is keeping temperatures this week very nice.
This is amazing weather. I mean, you just can't beat it in February. Basically getting spring-like conditions, and Friday's going to top it off with some, dare I say, 60s. You might even see a few people walking around in shorts. I don't know. Yeah, we had a nice shift in the polar jet stream. It's up in Canada, keeping all of the cold air right where it belongs with the Canadians, and so we've been having a really great mild stretch, and it's almost like there's somewhat of a blocking pattern due to the pressures off the East Coast and West Coast. So we're seeing a little bit of an oscillation that's holding. It's kind of stalling up in Canada, and that's going to stay there for at least the next 4 days. There's a little wiggle coming through on Saturday. It's going to be cooling down, probably 20 degrees colder than Friday, but Friday's going to be 20 degrees above normal. So come back down near normal in the 40s on Saturday and Sunday, but really can't complain at all. So we've been enjoying basically the oscillation of some of that cold air back up into Canada, and it's been nice. I got to admit.
Shibin indicates we could see a stretch coming up with more mild weather. He points out the short-term outlooks appear very favorable for temperatures.
Yeah, the outlooks 6 to 10, 8 to 14 are both showing. Well, the 6 to 10 shows above normal, and the 8 to 14 slightly. It's not significant, but we'll be 5 to 10 degrees above normal for highs. It looks like on a decently regular basis all the way through. This goes through March 11th. So. And I'm not seeing another cold snap, anything like we saw in February. And even the 3 to 4 week outlooks, what takes us through the third week of March, above normal temperatures is entrenched across the central third of the country, basically the mid-Mississippi Valley all the way to Florida to New Mexico. So warm weather looks like it's going to be more the trend than not all the way through the third week of March. Really, no cold snaps anyway.
Coming up with Shimon in the days ahead on Regional Radio, we'll highlight next week's Severe Weather Preparedness Week, as well as look at what could be a rather soggy spring. Shimon also puts a bow on February on the morning show Wednesday as well. The introduction of shot clocks will change how high school basketball is played, but it is also adding an expense for schools. Superintendent of Cerro Gordo Schools, Dr. Emily Widener, explains they are beginning the process of installing shot clocks in their gyms to comply with the new IHSA rule that will take effect in the 26-27 school year.
Yeah, we have to have shot clocks installed for our IHSA basketball by 26-27. So that is a requirement. We have 2 gyms that we're going to install shot clocks in this summer so that we're ready to go for 26-27. So we've got both of our hoops in our high school gym and our junior high gym, and it's a cost of about $25,000 when it's all said and done with the equipment and the installation and the electricity and some of the modifications that we have to do to get that done. So that'll be a project that a lot of schools are in the process of doing or have already completed to get ready for that.
$25,000 might be a bigger price tag than expected for the project. However, Dr. Widener indicates it will be paid for by a school maintenance grant provided by the state of Illinois. These grant dollars will also go towards the classroom improvements for the project.
We get the school maintenance project grant through the state of Illinois. We've had that for the last probably 5 years or so in our district, which is something that we're very grateful to have, and we hope the state continues to do it. But we can use that school maintenance project grant for the shot clocks. The state gives us $50,000 if we agree to commit an additional $50,000 for facility upgrades. So we're going to do our shot clocks with that. We're going to upgrade classroom ceilings and lights in our junior high school. We've got about 7 classrooms left to do. We're going to do some flooring upgrades and just some small projects like that throughout the junior high school this summer, and use up those funds, make sure we get done what we need to get done.
Dr. Widener explains this is not a project where they were unaware of what was coming. While the mandate comes from the IHSA, principals across the state were involved in the decision-making. Having the project done early would allow them to utilize the shot clocks before the mandate takes effect.
Basically, our high school principals have a vote in how that all goes down. So we've known about this for a couple of years and known that this was something that we were moving to. So this year's current sophomores will be seniors whenever the change takes place. And right now, some districts that have the shot clocks occasionally will have games using them if both teams agree to it. So some schools are kind of getting ready for it and giving kids a taste of it in advance. And we haven't really talked about that yet. So I don't anticipate that we'll use them early, but we could. It should be something that we can get done pretty quickly in a week over the summer, or less.
Keep up with the latest happenings at Cerro Gordo High School by visiting cgbroncos.org or follow their Facebook page. A local extension office is looking for volunteer judges. Kendra Wallace is the 4-H Youth Development Program Coordinator for the University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties, and explains they are always searching for judges to evaluate 4-H projects.
Always. Yeah. If anyone has any interest, we are always taking judges anywhere from visual arts. Definitely still looking for someone who is well versed in the STEM area. STEM judges are really difficult to find, I understand, but it's literally a couple hours on a Friday or a Saturday. If you guys have some time to dedicate to that, that would be great. Communications is another big area that's up and coming. Foods, I'm trying to even think, collections, horticulture, floriculture, trades is another big area. So like welding, woodworking, natural resources, geology, weather, take your pick.
According to Wallace, a 4-H judge is responsible for having a one-on-one conversation with a member about their project. They're expected to ask questions about the creation process.
So we ask our volunteers for a max of about 4 hours, and that gives you time to check in, kind of look over your paperwork, and then it's just a one-on-one conversation with the kids. So it's traditional conference-style judging where a judge will come in and ask the member a series of questions to elaborate on the process of that project. So where did you start? Where did you end? What did you learn from it? If you could do something differently, what would you choose to do differently? And then the judge kind of gives their personal or / professional opinion on how the 4-H'er could make the project better or ideas for a project for the following year.
You do not have to be particularly knowledgeable about the project parameters before judging. Wallace indicates they provide all that information for the judge.
We give all of our judges the information ahead of time. So I always send out a confirmation email that gives the pages for the show book, from the show book for the specific area that they would be judging. So that way, if there are parameters, they are well aware of what they're supposed to be looking for to kind of pinpoint. And then each judge has a rubric as well. And those rubrics kind of outline that as they're going through their questioning with the members. Definitely. We always send kind of a follow-up email for anyone who's judged with us in the past to invite them back. And for other areas, we're all busy. We understand that. So for any areas that may not have someone available, we'll reach out to our community partners for sure. And then if it is more specific, such as a trades welding, for instance, then I genuinely try to choose somebody who's going to be familiar with that area. So we've reached out in the past, we have reached out to the schools to talk with their trades teachers. We've also reached out to professionals in that area to kind of see if they would have some time to dedicate to it.
If you're interested in volunteering and becoming a member, becoming a 4-H judge, send Wallace an email at kendraw3@illinois.edu or call the DeWitt Extension Office at 217-935-5764. News time is 22 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday. More to come on the morning show.
It's time to celebrate winter. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have extra savings on all new Chevrolets this month to celebrate the winter season. See our inventory of Chevrolet Trailblazers, Blazers, and the all-new Chevy Trax. We also have a larger, redesigned 7-passenger Traverse and a good selection of 24 and 25 Tahoes. See our winter celebration savings at BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
News time is 22 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Thursday. I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. What is a deferred tax liability and how has it grown into a monster over time? That's Brad Zwilling's latest piece on the U of I Farm Doc Daily site. He's with the Illinois Farm Bureau, the Illinois Farm Business Farm Management.
Yeah, so what we're doing is, with a deferred tax liability, these are things that you haven't recognized yet, but we're looking at what the tax basis would be of an asset compared to what your value is on a balance sheet. This is a good time of year because, you've kind of getting ready, you've done taxes, you're working on taxes, you worked on your balance sheet, and you have some of those numbers right there. And so you're looking at what happens if I would have to sell everything off. In this case, I've split it off in different times. But what happens if you had to sell everything off today? What would be my tax liability to make that happen? And so we're looking at those, and we've kind of made some assumptions. We're using, this includes self-employment tax, it includes just ordinary tax and some capital gains tax. And we've held those tax rates the same over time, even though actually they've changed, they've came down over time, but we left them the same so we could see the impact as the values of the assets have changed. And we're looking from a period of 2007 to 2023. And I picked 2007 because that's when the startup of the demand for corn was there and the rise in grain prices.
You can find the piece at farmdocdaily.illinois.edu. Moderate drought and abnormally dry conditions are showing up on the drought monitor map in the northern two-thirds of Illinois. Is it a big concern right now? State climatologist Trent Ford has the answer.
Right now, it is not super concerning. And a few reasons for that. One is that a lot of winter is not a particularly wet period of time. It can be. I mean, you can ask Carbondale about that right now. It's wet for them, but it's not normally a wet period of time, especially in central and northern Illinois. So it's not like we're missing out on rain or precipitation in a particularly wet period of time, right? Compare that to like May or June where we go, if we were only an inch of rain in June, that's a huge hit on our moisture, whereas, being a little bit drier than normal in January, February is not as big a deal. The other piece of this is that there is no correlation between how wet our falls are, our winters are, our springs are, and then the following summer. So the biggest determinant for yields in Illinois, whether it be corn or beans, is how much rain we get in July. And there's no relationship between how much rain we get in July and how dry we are in the fall previous, the winter previous, or the spring previous. So that means that in reality, now, of course, we don't want to come into the growing season being extremely dry with our soils, but we really aren't right now. I mentioned there's capacity in the soil, but there's not necessarily a huge deficit like what we're seeing out in the western or the central plains right now. The last thing I meant to mention is that we're talking here on February 25th. We have the entire month of March likely before most folks in earnest get going with their springfield work and planting, and March tends to be a bit of a wetter month. So, if you talk to me 2-3 months from now and we still have seen a pretty large precipitation deficits through the spring, I'll be a little bit more concerned about the risk of drought. But given how much spring we have left to go, which is the entirety of spring, and the outlooks that continue to paint a wetter than normal picture for the state of Illinois, I'm not overly concerned about significant agricultural impacts related to drought.
You can find the Drought Monitor at droughtmonitor.unl.edu. A member of the Amtrak board does not believe the Department of Government Efficiency will slash the organization's budget. For Chris Coos, who serves as the mayor of Normal, Amtrak continues to expand on its balance sheets and rails. Amtrak plans to increase capital investment by 50% in 2025.
We think we're in pretty good shape on that. Our concern for Amtrak right now is the annual appropriations, which covers most of our operating costs, subsidies, and that ridership across the country is up significantly on Amtrak. And, we're getting to the position where we've got a shortage of equipment to keep up with all the demand out there. But again, we've got major infrastructure projects that were promised in the last administration. Those dollars are committed, and we're in the process of design and getting contracts to do these major infrastructure projects. And so we're kind of in the dark on where that's going, like everyone else is, and every other department in the federal government.
Last year, Amtrak poured over $4 billion into capital and fleet investments. Amtrak is home to 5 different services in Illinois with stops across the state. Another great Everything Local conference, Illinois Farm Bureau Associate Director of Food Systems Development, Ragella Scavuzzo, says nearly 850 people attended the event last month, and 200 of those returned surveys.
I was actually really surprised, to be honest. It's really hard to get that kind of evaluation back, and it's great to get that number because the more people that do it, I will be honest, a lot of times, you either get no evaluation because people were happy with it and they just don't take the time to do it. So sometimes you get the 5% that maybe really had a rough experience.
Next year's event will be January 28th through 30th at the Bank of Springfield Center. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 70-year-old Loretta M. Francischetti of Clinton passed away February 24th at Warner Hospital and Health Services. A celebration of life will be held at a later date. Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton is assisting the family with cremation rights. Memorials can be directed to the Loretta Francischetti of Memorial Fund in care of Crystal Welton. News time is 29 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday. Coverage of news is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. Sports comes up next. Clinton High School boys basketball fell in regional semifinal action last night in Tremont. Monticello boys were winners. Argenta-Oreana winners last night as well. Sports is next.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. The Supreme Court upholds, at least for now, the Trump administration's freeze on $2 billion and the release of foreign aid. Britain's prime minister sees his country as a bridge between the U.S. and the rest of Europe. Keir Starmer is in Washington for talks today with President Trump, at which Ukraine will top the agenda. Tomorrow, Ukrainian President Zelensky is scheduled to meet with President Trump, who expects to sign a profit-sharing deal on rare earth minerals in Ukraine. First phase of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal is complete, with the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners exchanged for the bodies of 4 hostages held in Gaza by Hamas. They were found in their New Mexico home. The bodies of Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog, discovered during a welfare check. Police say they do not suspect foul play. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures up 106 points. This is SRN News.
35 Bible.
With SRN Sports, I'm Andrew Stewart. In top 25 college hoops,
Trey Holloman hadn't even reached the M logo at midcourt when he jumped off 1 foot and let the ball fly. Somehow it stayed on line before dropping through the hoop with a swish that reverberated across the Big Ten. Holloman's shot from some 65 feet away gave his number 8 Michigan State team a 58-55 victory over number 16 Maryland yesterday. The buzzer beater also gave the Spartans a half-game lead over Michigan atop the Big Ten. Also in top 25 college hoops yesterday, Auburn, St. John's, Vanderbilt, Clemson, Kentucky, Memphis, Arizona, and BYU all winners. On the ice yesterday, Winnipeg, Colorado, and Vancouver in overtime all winners. In the NFL, the Miami Dolphins are the top-ranked team. This is SRN Sports. One of the greatest women's players in basketball history calling it a career.
Diana Taurasi is retiring after 20 seasons with the Phoenix Mercury, ending one of the greatest careers in women's basketball history. The WNBA's career scoring leader and a 3-time league champion, Taurasi announced her retirement on Tuesday in an interview with Time magazine.
That's correspondent Gettin Coolball reporting. In the NBA yesterday, Detroit, Indiana, New York, Portland, Miami, Oklahoma City, the Clippers, Sacramento, and Houston all winners. In baseball yesterday, interleague winners, Houston, the Yankees, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, San Diego, Colorado, and Cincinnati. National League winners, Miami, Atlanta, Arizona, the Dodgers, and the Cubs. With sports, I'm Andrew Stewart.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. In a game heard here on WHOW and all its digital platforms, the Clinton Maroons played strong defense through the first half, but it wasn't quite enough and fell to the Peoria Manual Rams 62-45 in the semifinal round of the Class 2A Boys High School Basketball Tremont Regional. The Maroons were led by the Serve Pro player of the game, Colton Walker, who scored 21 points, 11 in the first half. Keaton Graves had 13, while Dalton Bell finished with 7. The top-seeded Rams were led by Amari Breedlove, who put up 22 points. Joshua Humbles had 13, all of which came in the second half. The top-seeded, with the loss, the Maroons end their season 18-15 overall. The Rams improved to 19-12 and move on to the regional championship. Tune in this spring for Maroons boys baseball and girls softball action throughout the spring months. In a game heard on WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com, Monticello survived against Westville 60-52 in Class 2A regional semifinal action. From Westville on Wednesday, 4 players scored in double figures as Monticello held a double-digit lead late in the first half. The Tigers stayed close thanks to shooting 50% from beyond the arc. Tigers freshman Kipton Apple led all scorers with 19 points. The Sages defense held the Tigers' leading scorers to a combined 7 points, but the freshmen played excellent Wednesday. Preston Wright added 15 and Matthew Darling scored 12. Ike Young led Monticello with 15 points and 9 boards. Tyler Blythe chipped in with 14 points. Nolan Benny-Kemper had 12 and 6 boards, while sophomore Matthias Rudolph finished with 11 points. Benny-Kemper was the Serve Pro of Piatt-DeWitt County's player of the game. Westville finishes 26-7 on the season. The Sages improved to 17-13 overall. Monticello advances to take on Tolono Unity for the regional championship Friday night in Westville. Game time is 7 o'clock. Hear the action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. A big close to the game allowed Argenta-Oreana to get by Mount Pulaski 73-62 in Class 1A high school boys basketball regional semifinal action from Mount Pulaski Wednesday night. The Bombers held a 54-53 lead at the end of the third quarter, but outscored the Hilltoppers 19-11 in the final frame. Damian Good led all scorers with 22 for Argenta. Carter Logue added 17, and MJ Hall finished with 10. Eric Cooper had 19 points to lead the Hilltoppers. Luke Martin finished with 13, and Franklin Wade had 11 points. Mount Pulaski finishes its season 15-16 overall. Argenta-Oreana improves to 18-13, advancing to take on top-seeded Salt Fork Friday night for the regional championship. Coy Taylor had 29 points, and St. Joseph Ogden overcame a spirited effort by the depleted Maroa Forsyth Trojans to escape with a 60-52 Class 2A regional semifinal victory Wednesday night from the Meridian Regional in high school boys basketball action. Taylor's 9 second quarter points helped St. Joe jump out to a 32-22 halftime lead after the Trojans led 16-13 through one quarter. Cabron Lee led the Trojans with 20. Kenny Morris finished with 13. Taylor was the Spartans' only player in double figures Wednesday. Maroa Forsyth finishes 14-15 overall. Class 1A regional semifinal scores from Wednesday. Delavan toppled Rushville Industry 58-27. Tuscola got by Martinsville 54-33. Georgetown La Salette toppled Fisher 57-37. It was Leroy over Streeter Woodland 42-30. Hayworth got by St. Anne 50-46. Lexington down Sydenham Park 50-45. GCMS down Kankakee Grace Christian Academy 52-36. Arcola got by Okaw Valley 49-34. Salt Fork edged Decatur Unity Christian 44-43. Class 2A regional semifinal scores from Wednesday. It was BCC over El Paso Gridley 62-44. Tri-Valley down Normal U-High 60-57. Paxton Buckley Loda beat Hoopston 56-43. It was Warrensburg Latham over Shelbyville 60-39. Tremont toppled Peoria Notre Dame 57-48. Tolono Unity blasted Fithian Oakwood 69-36. Class 3A regional semifinal action from Wednesday. Decatur MacArthur beat Urbana 83-51. Champaign Central down Champaign Centennial 64-53. Morton blasted Galesburg 63-24. Metamora beat Dunlap 55-40. Peoria beat Limestone 74-41. It was Peoria Richwoods outlasting East Peoria 81-75. And Kankakee blasted Pontiac 78-38. Elsewhere in Class 3A, Springfield Landfair got by Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin 59-41. Chatham Glenwood beat Springfield High 44-36. Lincoln down Southeast 64-20. And Taylorville upset Rochester 40-37. Class 4A regional semifinal action from Wednesday. One local game, Normal Community beat crosstown rival Normal West 62-49. Class 1A girls basketball sectional championship action tonight. Decatur St. Teresa takes on Effingham St. Anthony at 6:30. Class 2A girls basketball sectional championship action tonight. It's DMAC and Peoria Notre Dame at 7 o'clock. And in Class 3A girls basketball sectional championship action tonight, Mahomet Seymour takes on Quincy Notre Dame at 6:30, and Washington battles Morton at 6 o'clock. Darius Hanna scored 22 points as Bradley beat Valparaiso 76-65 Wednesday night. Hanna had 9 boards for the 23-7 Braves, who go to 14-5 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Duke Dean had 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals. Zeke Montgomery finished with 12 points. Cooper Schweiger finished with 21 and 2 blocks for the Beacons, who are 13-17 overall and 6-13 in the Valley. All Right had 17 points for Valpo. Tyler Schmidt had 11 points and 2 blocks. Hannah had 10 points in the first half, and Bradley went to the break trailing 29-28, but Dean had 19 points in the second half to help Bradley build an 11-point victory. Both teams finished the regular season on Sunday. Bradley will host Northern Iowa. Get scores anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times.
Today, with daytime highs approaching 53. Westerly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, lows dip down to about 32.
Sunshine mixed with clouds at times.
Tomorrow, highs level off around 61.
Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Right now, 40.
From the Country Financial Studio, I'm Rita Frazier. This is the RFD Livestock Report. Coming up March 7, the Illinois Beef Quality Showcase Open House. Josh St. Peters, Executive Vice President, Illinois Beef Association.
In conjunction with the Department of Animal Sciences at University of Illinois, we're holding our first ever Participants Open House for the Illinois Beef Quality Showcase program. So you'll recall last summer we announced this program, rolled it out over the summer, and in the fall we had 25 farms from across the state that entered steers into this cattle feeding competition. So those 25 steers have been on feed at the U of I since Thanksgiving. We're at the midpoint in the competition, and so on Friday, March 7th, we'll be holding an open house at the U of I beef farm that is in Urbana, just south of campus on Ray Street. So if you take Ray Street out into the